Hey everybody, I'm Karen from Enable Me. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon for our webinar about growing your wealth and leaving a legacy. Hopefully you've all got yourself a sandwich and a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever, and you can sit back for the next half an hour and join me as I talk to you about retirement and leaving legacies. So let's crack on. Oh, excellent. Right. Just get to the second slide. My mouse is going a bit slow. There we go. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover why you want to grow wealth, really important, understanding your tendencies and how we harness those to create success, defining how much you need for your retirement, that's very important, how we build wealth and what are the principles around that, and creating a personalised wealth plan. Obviously, things change during our lives, so we also need to look at adjusting our plans for different goals and things that we have. And at the very end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. Right. So, just a little bit about me. Oops. Oh, sorry, I think my slides are going a bit all over the place. Sorry about this. Obviously, our usual disclaimer, this presentation is provided just for information purposes only. The content of the presentation is not intended as a substitute for regulated financial advice. If you'd like to get some financial advice from us, please join us later at Enable Me. So this is me, Karen Beckham. I'm a financial advisor, strategist and coach here at Enable Me. My job, I absolutely love my job. It's all about helping clients get confidence about their finances, helping people do better, how we can help you save more and do things faster, get in control of your money, get you ready for retirement, and help you grow your wealth. So it's a really, really important thing for me. I just love what I do. It's a bit like, if you're coaching a netball team and you're on the sideline, you want your kids to do the best they possibly can. And us coaches are always there to be there to support and make you do the best you possibly can. So why should we be prioritising wealth? It's really, really important to think about this because, we don't want to have a society where we have really well-off people and not so well-off people, but we all want to be able to do well. And when you do well and create wealth, it gives you a lot of options of what you can do for yourself and for your family. First of all, it provides peace of mind, and it gives you lots of options about what you can do. It gives you, and one thing I'm quite passionate about is the ability to stop or change the type of work you want to do, because often we have long careers doing the things that we did when we first started work all those years ago. And sometimes it's nice just to have a change in career, right? So this is another thing that can help you do. It helps you to follow your passions, so that be traveling, helping out with the kids and things like that. These are options that you've got. Helping your kids and leaving a legacy for a lot of people is very, very important, and giving you some stability through some volatile times. And we've seen a few of those recently. So for me, retirement is obviously the destination where we all want to get to when we've worked a really long and productive life, and to be able to retire and have a really lovely retirement is like one of my major goals. I'm not too far away myself. So growing wealth is really essential for our financial well-being, but only 44% of Kiwis feel ready for retirement. So that means most people actually aren't ready for retirement. 54% of Kiwis are actually worried about money on a daily or a weekly basis. And I know that we all have times in our lives where we wake up in the middle of the night and we worry about paying bills or whatever it is. But, as we get closer to retirement, we don't want to have those stresses. We want to know that we're actually okay. And 70% of Kiwis expect that they're needing to be able to, will have to work past retirement age. So whether that's 65 for us getting closer to retirement, or if they do move out the retirement age later on, if you have a different in age with your partner, it might mean that there's a bit of discussion about who gets to retire when. So, but you want to retire when you want to, not because you have to. Right. So we look at our pillars of financial success, and this is really important to help you do everything you need to do in life. You know, financially, you need to learn some good money habits. We don't always learn them from our parents. Sometimes there are other role models around us, or it could be from a coach. Setting goals is really important. You know, we talk to our kids all the time about setting goals for the future, but we actually need to have good financial goals as well, and it happens all the way through our lives. Sometimes we focus on something particular. It might be saving up for a deposit, a house, or whatever it is, but all through our lives we have to have financial goals, and that helps us get ahead. Cash flow management is really important because often we think we know where our money goes, but sometimes it just seems to disappear. We don't know where it is. So it's just understanding our cash flow and making sure we identify any fritter. The thing I absolutely hate, debt. Debt management is really important. Getting rid of your credit cards, getting rid of all of those little short-term debts from finance companies and that. We don't want all that kind of stuff. It just sucks money straight out of our wallets. Mortgage management, really important as we're getting towards retirement. We don't want mortgages, or if we do, we want them there for the right reasons, which are more for investment reasons. Insurance and KiwiSaver are also foundations for our retirement, making sure that we are protected if anything unforeseen happens. If we've got, 10 to 15 years left until retirement and something happens to you, you need the insurance to back you up. And behind the scenes, you need your KiwiSaver working really hard in any other sort of retirement funds that you may have. That all helps to create wealth, and creating wealth means that you can get ready for that lovely retirement you want. So that's not my dog. My dog's a golden retriever. So really important start of planning is to understand your cash flow management, understand and get rid of all those short-term and mortgage debts, and get saving. Achieve all your goals that you want to achieve. As you're approaching your sort of retirement years, you want to really maximize all the opportunities that we have out there. And there are lots of different opportunities. And it's important to to investigate different things and what you feel comfortable with. But it's also really, really important to understand your behavioral tendencies towards leveraging, because it can be quite scary for some people taking out additional lending to buy investment properties. So we have to understand why we feel that way. Right, so understanding your tendencies is really important. There's a few different areas that we look at when we talk about money personalities. And your money personality can change from time to time. Years and years ago, my debit card used to have Karen Beckham, aka Shopaholic. And because I was a shopper, I'm a reformed shopper quite proudly. And I would say I'm actually more of a plodder now, which is sits between a saver and a shopper. So our money personalities do dictate how we actually spend our money, how we think about money, and what we want to do with our money. So we have our shoppers, we have our savers, and we have our people that sit in between, which is what we call our plotters, turtles. Our cash flow position can change from time to time as well. And so we have three different cash flow positions that we sort of help people think about how they feel in life. Sometimes people think that they're living paycheck to paycheck, and that might be them feeling like they're sinking a little bit, going backwards, or otherwise floating, where you're sitting quite nicely, quite comfortably, doing the things that you want to do, but you may not be getting ahead at great pace. And then we have our clients that are flying, which means that they have really no money concerns, but they really need a good plan, an airline ticket to tell them where they're flying to, basically. And then we have our approach to risk. So risk is something that can really hinder your process, your progress, because if you feel too risk averse, you may not do anything. So a lot of people will sit in a webinars and they listen to what they should be doing, but they find it really hard to actually take that next step because of their approach to risk. So we have our safety wardens. Our safety wardens are people that are there and they're really checking, making sure everything's all right, and it sometimes stops them moving ahead. Then we have our adventurers, and they're the people that say, yeah, come on, let's go, let's just do it, all good. And then we have our dreamers that like the idea of doing it, but they don't actually get ahead and make that first step to taking their next investment approach. So everyone is completely different. Every person that I see will have a mixture of these different things. Husbands, wives, partners will all have different money personalities, or they may even feel that their cash position is slightly different, and people's risk appetite will be different from person to person. So really important, we need to increase your cash surplus. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about, the cost of living crisis, and we know it is really tough for people out there at the moment. So it's really, really important to understand where your money is going and to try to eliminate fritter. So I always describe fritter as where money sort of just disappears from your wallet and you actually can't remember where you spent it. So it's really important to have a plan to work towards. It's important that you track your spending so you understand where your money is actually going to establish systems to make managing your money nice and straightforward. So automating as much as possible, having your bills go out automatically, set up payments so that you know what is available to be spent each week, and then keeping the rest of that money to be put aside for buffers and to cover those emergency funds and to get you saving and moving ahead. It's also really important to understand what your non-negotiables are, and those are things that you spend money on that actually give you joy in life, because you have to have that balance between, getting a plan, having a goal, trying to get ahead, but you also want to enjoy your life while you're doing it. You don't want to go through life, not having enjoyment. So non-negotiables for a lot of people are things like holidays. For some people, it might be getting their nails done or their eyebrows, spending time with family, it could be eating out. There's lots of different things that people believe are their non-negotiables, and those should always be included in any spending plan that you have, because we don't want to suck the joy out of your life. We want to make sure you get ahead, but you do it in a way that you enjoy. But it's really important to eliminate fritter. Fritter is that part where you spend money on things that you look back and you just don't even remember what it was. And you look back and you just regret those spends. So when you track your spending, you can actually start to eliminate or isolate and understand what that fritter is. And then from there, you can maximize your income. So it's often about, it's not how much you earn, it's how much you're actually able to keep in your pocket or in your bank. So the way that we can look at fritter and try to get rid of that fritter or the money leaks that we have in our wallets is to look at our mortgage structure. Mortgage structure is really important. Interest rates have been coming down, but at the end of the day, it's the way that you structure your mortgage that's really, really important. When we were having interest rates where they were very low in the 2 and 3%, and people had like one large mortgage, when it came off and it was in the 6%, they got what we called mortgage shock. And that was when, obviously they've gone from a nice, comfortable position to paying this huge amount. So structuring your mortgage is really, really important. Giving yourself the opportunity to pay it off when you need to pay it off at a faster rate, really important. The key killer to your food shopping budgets is all the extra trips to the supermarket. I say this in every single webinar I do. I'm one of those people that go, I've got to go to the supermarket and I need to get milk, eggs, and bread. And I walk around in milk, eggs, and bread. And I walk out with more than milk, bread, and eggs, because I'll see something and think, oh, I haven't got that at home. All those extra trips to the supermarket eat into your budgets. So it's really important that you try to do one main shop a week. Have a little bit of money aside for the extra trips to the supermarket, but be really aware of how much that is. So split your budget up between your main shop and then one extra top-up shop during the week. Takeaways, they're normally more expensive than we sort of allow, so they should be a special treat. Look for something healthy, look for something that's going to last. I always say some of the fast foods, can be quick and easy, but they don't provide you with a lot of food. If you can go to a takeaway like a good old-fashioned Chinese and you buy the big fried rice and whatever it is, you've got meals left over because they're generally too big for you to eat. So think carefully about where that goes, but also be really, really aware that you're not spending $100 a week on takeaways. Utilities and insurances are really important that you review those on a regular basis. Different companies have different special prices, or they include different things. The electricity company often will do Spotify, or you'll end up with your internet provider giving different things. So have a really good look and review all of those utilities and insurances on a regular basis. Subscriptions. All right, I had a client the other day and they realized that they had 2 Netflix accounts. They said it was so hard to cancel one of them that they just about gave up. So really watch your subscriptions. We often subscribe to things and then we forget that we've got them. My last webinar, I talked about the fact that I signed up for Acorn last year. It was $175 a year. I thought it sounded okay because there was programs I wanted to watch. Don't think I ever watched it. A year later, I get well, it was actually, they basically just took the money out of my bank account. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. So I've got to remember to do it. But sometimes, those are those little things that sort of creep in that we become a bit time poor and we just forget we've got them, and we may not watch every single Netflix, Neon, Amazon, etc. So really be careful with those subscriptions. Bank fees, you shouldn't be paying bank fees. So be really careful when you're choosing your bank accounts and services to go for the fee-free options. Most banks are doing fee-free credit cards, bank accounts, etc. So be really careful. If you're getting charged fees, you need to review those. Your KiwiSaver structure is also very, very important. We recommend that you do review it every 12 months, just making sure that you're with the right provider, that their fees and their performance matches your expectations. So when we're talking about fritter, we're not saying we don't want you to spend money on things that you enjoy, but we want you just to be really aware of where your money is going to. Very important. Crushing your mortgage, things I absolutely love. Interest rates are really helping at the moment because we're seeing the rates coming down, and we're seeing people coming off of 6% mortgage rates still, and they're coming onto the mid-4 rates. That's great. You can save some money. But that's not going to be the thing that gets you mortgage free faster. It's actually about the pace at which you repay your mortgage. And Enable Me, this is something we're really passionate about, helping our clients get mortgage free very, very quickly. So it's important that you have the right structure in place to be able to get rid of your mortgage as quickly as you possibly can. So the difference between repaying your mortgage over 30 years, 15 years, and 10 years makes a huge difference. So this slide just shows an average first home mortgage of $550,000 on an interest rate of 4.99%. If you pay that mortgage off over the standard 30 years, you'll be paying your bank about $510,000 in interest. If you can speed up your payments and pay it off over 15 years, it's $231,000. And if you can get it down to a 10-year term, it's about $149,000. So potentially your savings there is about $362,000. So it's really important not just to sit back and think, okay, I'll just pay those standard payments that the bank wants me to pay, because obviously, that's how they earn their money. That's what they want you to do. It gives you flexibility. You can do all these other things in life, supposedly. But the reality is you have more control if you can pay off your mortgage faster. You then have much more options to do other things. So if we do nothing, what ends up happening? Well, there was a survey came out recently that said the average first home buyer in New Zealand at the moment is 36. So if you have a 30-year mortgage and you're 36-year-old, by the time you retire, you really have no time. Well, sorry, by the time you pay off your mortgage, you have no time to save other than your KiwiSaver. So what this chart shows us here is us paying off our mortgage. Then we get to the age of 65, we've got our KiwiSaver, and then the money lasts maybe to the age of about 70. And that's it. What do we do next? So what we really want you to do is we want you to be able to get your mortgage paid off as quickly as possible. KiwiSaver is still really worthwhile doing, and you should always be putting into KiwiSaver while you're paying off your mortgage. Not necessarily at a higher rate, but you want to take advantage of your employer contributions as well as what you're putting in. So that's a really important thing to continue. So the real main effects of paying off your mortgage earlier is that if you can pay off your mortgage in, say, 10 years at the age of, say, 55, that gives you an extra 10 years to save and grow your wealth for retirement. So rather than reaching the age of 65 and maybe having enough money to last you until you're 70, that additional savings time then extends your growth in your wealth to at least the age of 80. So it's really, really important to get mortgage free as quickly as possible. Keep your KiwiSaver working in the background, and those are the main foundations to actually help you do well in retirement. So what is a wealth creation strategy? So a wealth creation strategy brings together all different types of assets. It talks about how long you hold things for, how long when you sell them, what different asset classes that you need, and makes you understand what kind of cash flow that you're going to need when you actually retire. But 60% of Kiwis haven't thought through how much they actually need for retirement, which is really scary. If we think that our KiwiSavers are coming along quite nicely, and by the time we retire, we're going to have X amount of money, and hopefully that's going to be enough, then it may not be. So it's really important that you understand what your life costs you today and what your life is going to cost you in retirement, and that do you have enough money to last your lifetime. So when we're looking at investments, there are lots of different types of investments out there. So what's right for you will be different to different people. So we look at your age, we look at your time frame, we look at the things that you're trying to solve. So some of the different investments that you have available to you are cash, term deposits and bonds, managed funds, property, shares, and business. They tend to be the main types of assets. We've worked out that if you have a retirement gap, which is more than $300,000, you're more than likely you're not going to be able to save to bridge that gap. So you're probably going to need to leverage to borrow against an existing asset to actually buy something to actually build your wealth a bit faster. So this is the power of leverage. If you've got $160,000 to invest, you could put it into a managed fund, and if you get a rate of growth about 6%, that's going to give you a return of about $9,600 a year. If you've got the ability to leverage using, say, $160,000, you could buy an asset that's worth a house, say, of $800,000. The return on an $800,000 property at 6% will give you a return of about $48,000. Your asset is already larger, so it produces a better return for you. So that's really part of the key to understanding leverage. So what's the best approach for you? Well, it all depends. Everyone is very, very different. It depends on your time frame. It depends on your goals, your risk appetite, your capacity to be able to take on risk, your cash flow requirements, flexibility, your ability to access mortgage lending, that changes from time to time, your access to equity, and what your wealth goal actually is. So the great Warren Buffett says with any investment plan, time in the market is better than timing the market. So because everyone's situation is different, it's really important that you sit down and get some financial advice to help you understand what you need to do to get ahead. So we work all our lives, we accumulate all of these different assets, and then when we're getting closer to retirement, we need to start to think about decumulating them, so starting to actually spend them and to use them. So our strategy then changes. And when my mum retired, I said to her, "What's your greatest fear?" She said, "Well, we don't know if our money's going to last as long as we're going to last." So it's really important to understand what your cash flow needs are going to be. If you've got kids that are still dependent on you, hopefully they are little kids, because you don't want to have adult children relying on you, but what those might be. understanding your need your need versus what your risk and what you're comfortable doing, and whether or not you can absorb volatility or actually feel okay with it. So the volatility that most of us have probably seen most recently will be our Kiwi savers when we have Donald Trump talking tariffs and our Kiwi savers are up there and then they're down there and all the rest of it. So that's that volatility. You still have to remember your time frames. It's important that you keep the strategy of your time frame, not the fear or the risk of thinking everything's going to go wrong. So decumulating is it's going to take a bit of time for people to get around, because people that have got money together and have saved and they've got this big asset, you then need to start to think about, well, when do I start to change from keeping growing to actually starting to decumulate? So we have a few options available. Whether or not you can live off your investments would be really nice if you have enough money that you could do that. Whether or not you need to withdraw a set amount each year. Now, one thing I do want to make sure everyone's really clear is that you don't have to close off your KiwiSaver or your wealth funds when you turn 65, because often they are still a really good place to hold your money. If you think about the average life expectancy of somebody, 65 to say 85 is 20 years. It's got to last you a long time. So you still need to be in a fund that's going to provide you with some growth. The other thing is to withdraw a percentage of your cash each year, or have a phased approach where you have a set amount drop in buckets for different things. Really important to protect your assets. I like to talk a lot about this because as you do get older, you do have situations where you have family and friends that go through different, and have impacts through health and things like that in their lives. So it's really important to have the right life insurance policies, income protections, all of those type of policies in place. Don't be overinsured, but make sure you've got the right kind of insurance protection in place. Trusts still have a really important part to play in protecting your beneficiaries. Ownership structures of properties is really important as well. As we sort of go towards retirement, it's really important to understand who owns what and make sure everything is structured in the right way. Relationship property agreements are very important if you've actually entered into a second or third marriage and you have children via previous relationships, because you can actually inadvertently disinherit your children. So if you do get remarried and you've got children from your first marriage, it's really, really important that you rewrite your will after you remarry to include your children. If not, they may struggle when you pass away they may end up having conflict with your new partner about who has what or who's entitled to what. So it's really important that you have property relationship agreements so people know what's what, who owns what, and that you have a will to back that up with. So talking about passing down values that will help your future generations. So it's not just inheritance. So with regards to your values, it's really important to understand that if you want to leave a legacy for people. Inheritance are wonderful. And the number of people that I see that say that their retirement plan is that they're going to inherit money from their parents. It actually really worries me when I hear that, because I feel that if you are banking on getting money from your parents, then you may not have actually done the best you possibly can to look after yourself. So those kind of values do go from generation to generation. If your kids see you trying to prepare and look after yourself as best they can as you can, they see that good role model in you. But for a lot of people, they do want to leave a legacy for others, and it's not necessarily for family, it may also be for a charity. But it's really important, if you are wanting to leave something for somebody else, you've got to understand that you don't want it to stop you doing the things that you enjoy. I've seen people over the years that have got money in the bank and they say, that is for my son and daughter. When I pass away, I want them to have that. And then they have a smaller life. they don't do the things that they want to do because they are just so concerned about retaining that amount of money for their children. So I think it's really important when we think about legacies that we are doing it for the right reasons. So the right reasons might be helping your children on the property ladder if they've struggled to get there. It may be helping your grandchildren for educational costs so that they don't have the burden of big student loans going ahead. It could be giving to, your favorite charity, but it's really important if you want to do those things, you make sure everybody knows that that's what you're wanting to do. I've probably covered that in this slide here. But, it is really important that, when you enter retirement, things can change. So if you end up in a rest home, I read recently the average cost of a rest home is $1,450 a week, which works out to be about $75,000 a year. So leaving a legacy is fine, but you need to be able to look after yourself. So make sure that your retirement needs are the number one priority. And if anything else is left over, make sure that the people you're leaving it to understand what's going to be left into home. So make sure you communicate your wishes. So if you're going to leave some money to the SPCA, make sure that your family all know what that is that you're wanting to do. Really important. Make sure that you protect your beneficiaries by making sure your trusts and your wills are up to date. And the other thing is, if you are moving into retirement care, things like retirement villages, if you're downsizing from your own home and you're going into a retirement village, you might end up with a right to occupy rather than actually owning the property and receiving capital gains. It can be different from different retirement villages, but just be understanding that that asset may not appreciate in value. But these are different things that can happen. So, it's lovely to leave a legacy for somebody, but just make sure that you put yourself first, because you, in your retirement, that's what you've worked all your life for. So estate planning is very, very important. As we're getting closer to retirement, it's really, really important to actually make sure that our wills are up to date. Don't put it off. If you do pass away, you want your passing to be as easy for the people that you're wanting to leave, or the people that you care about, not to have the stress of having to work out what you wanted. Have it written down so people know exactly what it is you want. Make sure that you've got your power of attorneys. So you need your personal care and welfare and your property power of attorneys. They should be up to date, and you should have them pretty much as soon as you own your own home or have a family. Make sure you've got those done. A trust is very important. Make sure that that's up to date, and make sure that you have any medical directors in a living will. So a wealth plan needs to be flexible, dynamic, designed to build in buffers, rainy days. Make sure that you understand your behaviour and your spending habits, and making sure you support a wealth mindset. How we can help and enable me. We've got these fantastic coaches here, all ready to help you. We put together bespoke plans for our clients to help you get ahead in life. So really important, reach out to us. So today, if you would like to register for a financial consultation, the cost today is $149. Bookings made after this evening will be $249. I think I'm running a little bit short on time, but producer Amy, do we have time for a quick question or two?
We do, we do. Thank you so much for your time, Karen. And don't worry. We have run over a little, but we have time
Sorry
for
about that,
a couple
guys.
of questions. So to start off with, Karen, what is a good way to invest money for children? And do you have any types of investments that you would recommend? I am thinking of investing a sum of money for them to receive at a certain age, and I'm looking at a 10 to 15 year investment time frame.
Well, a lot of this does come down to your risk how you feel risk wise. Now, for me, I put money into my daughter's managed fund from when she was very little, and I did it on a regular basis. And when she turned 18 and she was getting uni fees and wanted to buy a car, I gave it to her then. So a managed fund can be a good option. The other thing is, depending on your capacity to borrow, maybe buying an investment property. If you've got 10 to 15 years, that could be a possibility too. Again, if you're able to leverage, that may be an option.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, and we have access to so many options for wealth growth. How do you choose where to put your money and not get stuck in paralysis by analysis?
Right, that's really important. Like, I don't know about you guys out there, but there's lots and lots of webinars that we can listen to. And we often listen and we analyze and then we don't do anything. So for me, the most important thing that I would recommend that you do is reach out to a financial advisor, get some great advice. Where you put the money will depend on your situation. So it's important that you get personalized advice from somebody who knows what they're talking about and has your best interest at heart.
Thank you. And last one, any tips for someone who is asset comfortable but cash poor?
Right, important one. So, asset comfortable, I would be looking at your investable assets and making sure that they're working really, really hard for you. If they're not, I would be reviewing those assets and I'd be looking to get something that may give you a slightly better return on your funds, replacing it with something that might be newer, more updated, or whatever. But always review them. But this is about your investable assets, not your home, because that is not an investment asset. So that's what I would be looking at doing. Again, speak to an investment advisor. Come and see us and enable me.
Thank you so much, Karen. As you know, we have run over a little bit, but we do encourage
Sorry,
you if you've
guys.
got any other questions or any queries about financial consultations, please scan that QR code that's on your screen right now or visit our website, enable.me. We will be sending an email out later today with a recording of this webinar and also a direct link to book your consultation if you didn't quite grab that. I'll hand back to you, Karen, to wrap us up.
Yeah, well, look, guys, I'm so sorry. An extra 6 minutes into your lunch break. I really apologise, but I'm glad you joined me today. I hope you've got some value out of our session. I'd love to talk to you. So we're available on Teams, we're available in person. Reach out to us at Enable Me, and we'd love to help you get ahead in life. Have a good afternoon. Bye.